to be able to not have to worry about the crazies. But the crazies, Max, have become crazier. And
Is
the
it?
problem is they're organized with union money. Yeah, they're organized with union money. The NDP, like QP and their new groups. It's it's forced unionism, and they have an endless supply of money, which we don't. So we represent people who, on their own volition, will donate to us or get involved. And we're regular everyday folks, regular everyday workers, regular everyday small business owners, regular everyday, people like yourself, Max, and I, who actually go and work. We don't rely on government. We go and do something, and that's the part that's been really missing with what the NDP has been trying to do. They're manipulating things. They're, for example, when they're doing these recall petitions, it's not in the spirit in which the recall was created. It wasn't created just to recall everybody all at once. It was recreated for, you know, like real expenditures or real screw ups or whatnot. Just not because I don't like you, therefore we're recalling you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a stupid answer. However, having said that, since this is how the NDP is playing,
Mm-hmm.
we need to ensure that we have an organization out there that's going to, fight fire with fire. And so we're in the new year. We don't want to screw up the recalls. So in the new year, we're going to go after some specific NDP candidates and do some recalls. But we're also going to educate. And if you look on previous campaign there on our website at StopTheNDP.info, you can see what we did against Rachel Notley. And
Oh,
we're going to be doing the same thing against Nenshi, which is educating people on who Nenshi really is and who the people behind, the NDP are, and who the unions are called the Common Front, because they have the United
the
Nurses,
AFL.
all of them together. So what we are saying to conservatives who are listening right now across the province, and conservative doesn't mean you're in the UCP. Conservative is small c conservatives, less government, lower taxes. We don't want the government in our lives. Stay out of our
Mm-hmm.
bedroom, stay out of our gun cabinet, stay out of our business. And we need to unite together and realize that the NDP is a real threat.
Yep.
Just remember, Max, when the NDP took over under Notley, NCAN, NCAN and TCPL, they built the Bow Tower. They paid for it, they built it, and as soon as the NDP got in the next day, they announced they were moving to Houston. And 4 other oil companies did as
Yeah.
well. And that was devastating for us. So
Really?
Calgary, which you may not know, Max, has the highest vacancy rate in their downtown for business
Really? I thought it
in the
was the
country.
opposite. I thought it was the opposite. I thought, well, I live in Edmonton. It seems like when you go downtown Calgary, it's not too bad. But we were talking about
The
office vacancy.
towers, the,
That's
the super towers, a lot of them are empty. Like the
really.
Bow Tower, for example, isn't full. It's
Oh my god.
partial, and they're talking at city council, which I strongly oppose as well, which is an NDP mentality. They want to, out of the old buildings, they want to try to get it converted to half residential and half business. So, for example, if you look at the new TELUS Tower,
Mm-hmm.
half of it's business, but the top portion is all residential apartments. And so
Really?
that's what they're trying. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do with Calgary. Is they kind of want to make a densification, a 15-minute type city by putting putting homes or
Space.
condos inside those businesses, which is crazy. And that's not what people want. So you got to understand the NDP and this whole concept isn't just about looking at the provincial level. It's about educating people on how QP, through different groups, funds the municipal candidates too,
Oh yeah,
and
and
the
this
federal
and this
candidates.
and this is very
Yeah,
interesting because there was a municipal election that happened, and I think there was happened everywhere, including Edmonton here. We have the reason why the left actually, from my understanding, lost the election is because of a large vote splitting, right? People are going from this
yeah.
direction,
In
going to this
Calgary, in
direction.
Calgary, Yeah, in Calgary, Max, that happened. For example, I was the campaign manager for the successful A Better Calgary Party candidate, Mike Jameson, Councillor Mike Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, we had an agreement with Communities First that they would run in 4 seats, we would run in 4, and we weren't going to run a mayoralty candidate at all. Um, but what happened is they breached that agreement. And so our party, who didn't have a mayoralty candidate, ended up endorsing Jeff Davison. That caused a vote split, and Sonia Sharp lost by 500 and something votes. However,
Oh,
Jeremy Farkas seems to be okay so far. He doesn't seem to be doing anything crazy, and he seems to be, he pushed hard to get the property tax lowered, the tax hike lowered to 1.6 or whatever it ended up being. Although we wanted it to be 0%, that's still a step in the right direction. Although I still find it funny when people, Max, talk about, oh, we got a tax cut. No, you didn't. Reducing a tax hike is not a tax cut. It's
no.
still a tax hike. So we're
Yeah.
trying to educate people. Look, this is weird math because you can't say we just got a tax cut. No, we didn't. You got your tax hike cut, but it's still a tax hike. And there's a lot of games that are played at the municipal level in that regard. And next election, I think we're going to see a total takeover of the city councilors. So it's going to be something
Um,
that's
Basically, taking over 5 Conservatives or
well,
by the NDP
right
or
now,
smaller.
arguably the conservatives we have on council, which I'm shocked that Dan voted for a tax hike, but you got Dan McLean, Andre Chabot, um, Kim Tyers, Rob Ward, and Mike Jameson. You really only have 5 conservatives on city council. And
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, depends which way. I mean, so
Ish.
far so good. Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned about Jeremy, I voted for him the first time. Okay, but the second time he ran, I voted for Jeff because I wasn't sure which Jeremy was going to be there, but he seems to be taking a pretty good approach so far. But we do need to focus on council seats. Now, Max, I don't know about Edmonton if it's savable though. I mean, it's Edmonton. Sorry,
Oh,
sorry for you Edmonton folks, but
I got
it's
no
that's a
idea.
Calgary rivalry thing.
Well, and also the thing about Edmonton is that, for what I've seen here, there's a lot of problems within Edmonton in regards to the. I think the mayor right now is full open on 50-minute city stuff. He looks like a woke mayor. Like during interviews, he was wearing like printed bracelets, like Trudeau style. I'm like, what the heck's
Oh,
going on
really?
with this guy? This is the kind of guy who runs the who runs the who runs the who basically runs the city. And speaking of that, what you mentioned about the unions, this is something that was you're talking about on the website, AFL, QP, and all those things. Because a lot of the what happens in Edmonton, we have, well, basically the government here in Edmonton. All the establishment is based in Edmonton to some extent. Can you expand on the relationship between AFL, QP, and all those guys, what you refer to as the common front, and that how that's been weaponized against conservatives?
Yeah. So Gil McCowan, who's the main Alberta Federation of Labor guy, he's the I call him a domestic terrorist, if you will, because he doesn't seem to care about anything but the agenda of the left. And so what they have done, and he has declared, they had a press conference, I think it was about a month ago now, where they had the head of QP, the head of the AFL, the head of the ATA, the head of various other union organizations, and they created a new group called the Common Front. So Stop the NDP is a registered third party advertiser with Elections Alberta. So I'm wondering if the unions are following the rules and have created this third party organization called Common Front. Um, but what they are is that they have said if one goes on strike, we are all on strike, and they're trying to organize a general strike too, which is not very helpful in any way, shape, or form. So thank goodness Danielle used the notwithstanding clause to get the teachers back to work. She was never not talking about stuff. I mean, Max, if we want to know what the problem is with education and why we have overflowing classrooms,
Yeah,
it's because of the federal government letting in 1.8 million people to Canada last year and
absolutely.
1.3 million this year. I mean, in Calgary alone, over 200,000 people last year moved to the Calgary area. So, how are we supposed to keep up with new schools if we can't keep up with the infrastructure?
You can't.
That's not a union thing. It's not even a right or left thing. That's an irresponsible federal government. And that's another reason why Alberta needs more sovereignty. Danielle wants, a sovereign Alberta within the United Canada. Personally, I would like Alberta to separate. I don't want to be a 51st state because, quite frankly, I see that as moving from the frying pan into the fire. I don't want their crap show either. I'd rather be in Republic of Alberta where we control our own destiny. We have free trade agreements with surrounding provinces and free trade agreements with other countries and with the United States. But that's a whole nother. We could talk about
Oh
separation for
yeah, oh yeah,
for
absolutely.
hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So basically, AFL. I'm just looking at the website right now because I think I pulled the website right here. Just a
The
second.
Common Front one.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the
Yeah,
website.
exactly.
This,
Seizing the worker moment. It's weird. It kind of looks like Ukrainian symbols, but it's weird.
yeah. So this is their website, and basically what they have is like resist.
Resist.
That's the.
Wow.
It sounds communist. And then you
It
have.
is. Look at that.
I called Shea McGowan, by the way. We don't call Gil McGowan. He blocked me on Twitter, so that's
What
fine.
do you call him?
Shea McGowan, like Che Guevara. But that's just a joke here. But yeah, so basically what they have, you have Ready to Resist, Daniel Smith, the UCP government, or strip teachers. So basically this thing, the Common Front, is basically
Funded by the Alberta Federation of Labor, it looks like.
who's paying those guys?
Well, union dues. So let's say if you work somewhere and you're part of the Alberta Federation of Labor, well, your union dues are paying for that. And that's why one of our policies with Stop the NDP is we want right to work legislation. And what that means is ending dues and whatnot for political purposes, but it also means you own your own labor, Max. The government doesn't own your labor. The union doesn't own your labor. You own your own labor, and you should not be required to join a union as a condition of employment. And especially, I don't think we should have public sector unions at all. Like, I'm all for private sector unions, totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah,
But
and
public unions, when you and I, Max, are paying for them to give their dues to someone, like we're paying all the bills and they're using our own money against us. I find
so
that abhorrent.
so
I mean, I don't
basically
know if Gil McGowan has ever worked in his life for a real job.
we don't know. So basically the way the money
Yeah.
flow goes is that if you're in the public sector, okay, you get paid by, let's say, the city of Edmonton or EPC or whatever, any public entity in the city. On your paycheck and your pay stub, you see union fees. That doesn't go to AFL. They collect the money indirectly. So, from my understanding, is that QP might probably have those funds, but QP must pay AFL at the end. Is that accurate?
That must be the head for the province for all the different groups. I agree, but I do know QP is very political because they funded a group called Calgary's Future, which spent $1.8 million in the municipal election last time. Not sure what they ended up spending this time, but they fund everything that's not NDP. Like they are in bed with the NDP and they should be taken to task. QP should be, the nurses, everyone else should be. We shouldn't have public sector unions. You work for the public
Absolutely.
sector. Again, we're not anti-union. Unions belong in the private sector. They don't belong in the public sector.
Yeah, like
They're
trades
using
type
our
of
own.
people.
Yeah, they're using their own money against us. I mean, if you have a union in the Suncor or wherever, I get that. Okay, fine. But to have unions where hardworking parents are paying the teachers through taxes, and then the teachers, their money's going towards the ATA. Well, that's a misuse of public funds in my mind, because at the end of the day, money just doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of your pocket, my pocket, Max. And we're funding strike action against our own government. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Interesting. Your organization is basically an organization, from my understanding, that tries to educate on the of the damage from the NDP. Can you just outline some examples? I'll give some personal story. I've been here in Alberta for just over 3 years now, so I've just heard the NDP racial naughty type of things that she's done from behind the scenes, because I kind of heard from that from people. But what exactly is that the NDP can do as a damage? So pretty much everything at this point. But can you just get some
Well,
examples?
if you look at for example what they did in Notley's short term, look at Bill 6, where they tried to unionize the family farm. It was crazy. They want to unionize everything that moves. They want to tax everything that moves. Their idea of solving climate change, and I'm not even debating whether climate change is real or not, that's a totally separate issue. But their way of fighting climate change is to tax what moves.
Really?
And nothing's, well, the carbon tax, what did that achieve? And where'd the money
Nothing.
go? It didn't go to green initiatives, did it? No. It
No.
just went. It's like the GST with Brian Mulroney when he brought it in. He goes, you know what? We're bringing in this goods and sales tax. It's only going to go towards paying down the debt. Not $1 went that way. It went to general revenue. And it's the same thing with all the taxes that Notley brought in. They weren't funding green initiatives. They were penalizing people who were actually creating jobs. And under Bob Rae and the NDP in Ontario, a company went bankrupt every 2.5 hours. Somebody lost their job every 5 minutes, and 36% of all businesses either chose to go to Alberta or the United States. Now, a lot of Ontarians came west in 95, in the 90s. That's when I came, because we were
Mm-hmm.
escaping. People here have been, well, I've been here all my life and I don't feel the same way you do. And I'm like, because you have no idea what it's like to live under an NDP regime. And that's why people move to Alberta. Don't bring your politics with you if you come here. Just don't. If you come here, it's the same reason for some people to come to Canada. Don't bring your crap from over there over here. If you didn't like over there, you wouldn't be here. So don't try to create here to be there. And it's the same thing when people come from BC or other provinces. Don't come here and bring your liberal crap. The reason you're coming here is because we have jobs, we're lower taxes, our homes were cheaper. And
Yeah.
if you bring the NDP mentality, you're going to have higher prices of homes, higher prices of goods. I mean, where did they think the carbon tax went to? Like, for example, if you have a carbon tax on a wheat farmer, where he's being paying a carbon tax on natural gas to cure the wheat, which is what they do in our province.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're paying the carbon tax there. Then they got to ship it. So
Another carbon
the
tax.
rail car company is paying the carbon tax again, and then the trucking company at the end of the rail is paying the carbon tax again, and then when you get it to the shop, to the Sobeys grocery store, they're paying the carbon tax. And you know why everything's more expensive? Because along the way, everything's been taxed to crap, and that's what the NDP thinks. And they have no comprehension of doing things differently at all. They think throwing more money at something will solve the problem. Well, no. You know what the NDP should be advocating if they want to be an effective opposition? They should be saying we need to do an organizational review of all departments to ascertain where we can make some savings and smart cuts. But they don't do
Yeah.
that.
No, and
What
even
they
in
do is they
fact,
say,
and
yeah,
even Gail McGowan, he was trying to, like, during the teacher strike, he was trying to convince people that if the teachers don't get what they want, which is a pay increase, and by the way, they get pay, they are very high pay people. I would say, I don't know how much you make,
well, and they
but they're
also get
making a lot.
summers off. I don't know about you, Max, but I have to work every day, even, and as you know, and other people who know, during the municipal election, I fell down the stairs and broke my like from my shoulder all the way down, and I'm still in pain from it. I had to go through an orthopedic stuff, and now I'm going through a neurosurgeon and maybe a vascular surgeon too. and our healthcare system sucks. And that's not because Danielle Smith's been in there for 3 years. No, the healthcare system's been crap because of years of socialist mentality that the state can do something for you that others can't. Now, the unions are trying to say Danielle wants to privatize public healthcare. No, she doesn't. Here's the funny thing: our system's stupid. If I want to go to a private clinic in BC or another province to get my arm fixed, I can, but I can't do it here in Alberta,
How
and they
come?
can't do it in Ontario.
I've heard this thing. I was in Regina a while ago, and there's a gentleman over there who was speaking about that exact issue. Is that if you are in the province, you cannot get served. It's something in regards to EHS or something.
Well, I don't know why I don't know what the reasoning is for it. I don't understand it because the Canadian Health Act says no Canadian shall be refused public health care. So there'll never be that worry of, oh, I'm not going to be able to afford healthcare in Canada because everyone's guaranteed under the Canadian Health Act that they will be able to have their hospital, their doctors, all that stuff covered. But you know what makes sense? Because I've been thinking about it. I'm like, my family lives in Florida. So I'm thinking I'm going down there for Christmas. I kind of checked around and I could get surgery that I need right now that I've been waiting for here for 3 months in this province. I could get it done in a day. Walk in and walk out the next day. And it would cost me about 15 grand or something like that. But it's $15,000 American worth my life being put on hold for the past 4 months. Yeah, I'd rather spend 15 grand and get it done. So what we're doing, and it's worldwide. I mean, Turkey is a recipient of this. Mexico's a recipient of this. Medical tourism is huge. And it's because of the Canadian system where we can't get stuff done here. People are going elsewhere. So think about it this way. Guarantee in healthcare, for example, that you're under the Canadian Health Act, you're going to be covered. But if I have enough money to go to a private clinic in Alberta that's not funded in any way, shape, or form by taxpayers in any way, shape at all, and that we have a requirement that doctors need to work a certain amount of time in the public sector if they're going to work in the private sector, there's lots of things we can discuss. But the NDP won't discuss it. They won't have a conversation. What they say is, oh, you want to privatize? No, I think, we need options. And rather than losing the money to other countries, we could tax these private hospitals, bring in more revenue to put towards the public system, but also by allowing people to go to a private clinic, for example, who are paying for it out of their own pocket. What we're allowing is the public system to the queue gets shorter because people are going, and if they have the means and the ability to do so, are going to another area. Unions won't talk about that. They'll just say, give us more money. That's it.
Oh, and even Gil McGowan was trying to elude the idea to even increase the provincial tax. Like, no, to put back a provincial tax, like when you go to pay something, you only pay GST, right? They were going as far as putting a provincial sales tax just to pay.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If Gil was smart, I don't object to a sales tax if income taxes is eliminated. So if we eliminated income tax and had a sales tax only, like even across the country, like even a harmonized sales tax, that'd be okay. And they'll say, well, what should it be, Craig? I said, I don't know. Combined provincial and federal, 10%. If 10% is good enough for God, it's good enough for government. I don't think the government should be taking more than 10%. When God doesn't want more than 10%. So, but you can't bring in another tax on top of a tax on top of a tax because we have fuel taxes, right? At the pump, the majority of our costs for our fuel, and Max, when you fill up every day, it's taxes. If you took all those taxes off fuel, oh my gosh, in Alberta, we would have the cheapest fuel in the world.
Absolutely.
It'd be unbelievable. Absolutely. So that's what unions do. They can't debate on merit and principle. When they lose the debate, they get angry. They bring out the rusty artillery of abuse. They call us names. They call us, well, he's a racist, he's a homophobe. Well, why is that? Because he has a different opinion than I do on healthcare. Well, that has nothing to do with anything. Debate it, and it's they're so ideologically driven. They've never met payroll in their lives. Any of these people, they have no comprehension. They've never signed the front of a check, just the back of one. And that's the problem. We got to educate people that unions are misleading people. They're outright lying and they don't care. And I'm surprised. Yeah, I would, if I was Danielle Smith, I would have sued the unions by now for defamation and lies, because we're letting them get away with propaganda, which is like almost like it reminds me of like former Russia and former Germany, where it's our way or the highway, and if you think differently than us, you're an enemy of the state. And that's how they're treating people with
Yeah.
independent free thoughts.
And one of the things I found kind of surprising is the should I say the lack of oversight. Like when you hear those people like the unions starting like basically acting like
who do they report to? They don't report to anybody.
Exactly.
Like I know lots of, and to be fair, you and I both know, Max, we all talk to teachers who don't like what their union's doing. We've all talked to nurses who don't like what their union's doing, but they feel trapped because they have no choice. And if the teachers union was actually cared about their members, why weren't they giving their members strike pay? Why was the money only going towards propaganda? Why weren't they saying, okay, we're on strike, we want this, but we know you're not getting paid right now, so we'd like to subsidize you with the union dues you put in? Why isn't there a fund for unions to give to their members when they're on strike? They don't do that, though. So that right there shows me firsthand it's not about the workers.
No, and it's never been about
because they're not taking care of their own.
No, and it's never been about the workers, and the fact that it's just deceptive advertising from the unions. Like, well, not necessarily the unions, but particularly AFL in this case, who are very vocal against this whole thing. Another question I have in regards to the whole process is that we are going to a provincial election in 27. People say, oh, it's in 2 years. No, it is now. You have to consider that it is practically next door. What do you think is going to happen with the unions, and what do you think that the information warfare will be like during the next 18 to 24 months starting now?
Well, we've already seen a taste of what it's going to be like. And quite frankly, they're already campaigning like the election's on, like the writ has been dropped. And we're going to see much more. We're going to see a lot of negative ads. The one thing I remember with Notley, they ran a really good campaign in the last election. It's actually the reason the UCP lost some seats in my mind is we were hiring out of province people like Steve Outhouse to run the UCP campaigns who didn't live here, and they have no comprehension of how we think, and they were just employing strategies but didn't understand. You should never hire somebody from Ontario to run a provincial Alberta campaign. Makes zero sense unless they live here. They shouldn't even be getting a dime.
Even that
in any way should. Yeah, it's crazy town. So I think you're going to see, to get back to your initial question, you're going to see more. You're going to see billboards. You're going to see lawn signs. You're going to see recall campaigns. And the recall campaigns aren't about recall. They're about data mining. Just like Thomas Lukasik and his Forever Canadian campaign. They're all working with these same guys, this recall stuff. And they're not educating the public on how many millions of dollars these recall campaigns are going to cost us. Because here's how it works. First step, you get the signatures. Second step, you have a yes or no vote. If it's a yes vote to recall the person, it goes to a by-election. That's the third step. That's millions of dollars already, and they want to do it in 14 different areas. They didn't tell the public that that's how it works. The public just thinks if they get enough signatures on a recall, the person's not there anymore. That's not how it works. You get the signatures, you have a yes no vote on recall, and if it's a yes vote, you go to a by election. If it's a no vote, it's over and it waits for the
And
next election. No
and
one's
how
explained
many?
that to people. I've talked
No,
to people who don't know that.
and how many campaign? How many ridings do they have? Like 14 or 15, including Daniel
Yeah,
Smith's
14.
riding.
So if you look at 14, they're talking and estimating this is going to cost, like around $10 million to get, the first round going. And then that's what the NDP does. They don't care. They don't care about your children. They don't care about your. I always said when I ran when I because I'm Gen X, I always said to the baby boomers, "Blessed are the young, for we shall inherit the debt." Because at that time, the boomers outnumbered us 3-1. Well, and it's the same thing. The millennials are less, and the Gen Z are less, and
I think you're dropping out.
of our children. Yeah. Oh, am I
Okay.
back?
And I think I can. Now you're back. Yes, sure. Yeah. It was
Okay.
like
Yeah. So they're mortgaging
stuttering.
the future of our children, and
Yeah.
like, how are we going to pay this debt off? Like, who do they think is going to pay it? They don't think about this. They print money and go, we need to spend more money. We're running a deficit. I even get ticked off when our own party runs a deficit. I think it's inexcusable that the UCP runs a deficit at any time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's wrong. I think we need to go back to the
Irresponsible.
base. Yeah, we need to go back to what Ralph Klein did. Ralph Klein's turning in his grave. He paid off our debt, and now we're in debt again because of Stelmach, who got in by the unions, and Redford, who got in by the unions. You see, any government we've had in this province that's been bad has been union backed. The only reason Redford won is because the Teachers Association bought memberships en masse. Same thing with Stelmach. That's exactly what happens. So if people don't realize how nefarious and evil these unions are in this province, they're going to find out real soon, because the reason why people are coming to Alberta is because we don't have the union problems. This is a line in the sand. Canada's lost. And I'm going to move to Florida because what's
Yeah.
the point of being here?
Like for example, when I moved here about 3 years ago, I came here because Alberta was the land of Michael Honey, basically, and it's a land of opportunities, place to start a business, place to work hard and get rewarded
It
for your
was.
work. And it was. Now it looks like this like for a millennial perspective. I'm 35. I can look at that. It looks like this dream of what I've just mentioned, this land of Michael County, is gradually fading away because of policies that were done primarily from the left, from the left, but because of the liberals in Ottawa, but also because of the unions as well. And I have lots of examples as to how unions are, public union sectors, not the private ones. The public unions are very nefarious when it comes to policy and all those things. Um,
Yeah, like for example, when I ran in Hamilton, I got along with the Stelco and Dofasco unions that were there. I understood where they were coming from. They understood. They actually, for a 22-year-old in Hamilton to get 10,900 votes at 22 years old, obviously I talked to the unions. You don't get that many votes in Hamilton without talking to them. So that's why I don't oppose private sector unions, but the public sector unions hold us hostage. They're in charge of our schools where our children are. They're in charge of our healthcare. They're in charge of the things that we hold near and dear. And then they just say, well, we need to raise, we need to raise, we need to raise. How many small business owners have had a raise compared to these union members? They haven't. And remember, the unions lobbied hard to make sure that the big stores were open. So you could go to Walmart, but you couldn't go to Susie's sweater shop during COVID. But they shut us down. They shut small business down. So unions are also anti-small business, and I think unions are like a big business. They don't care about the little guy, and that's the NDP. And you know, Nenshi, I don't think he's ever had a real job either. Like, I mean, he went
Oh,
from
Nancy.
professor to mayor to now leader of the NDP.
And
And
not even in his
I've
own
tried to
writing.
find that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The only reason he went to Edmonton is because he couldn't win down here. We don't like him. He's not going to win seats in Calgary because we don't like Nenshi. We've had him as the mayor. We've experienced who he is. We know he's a liar. Like, I mean, he is a pathological liar. I've never
Oh,
seen a politician at any level of government in the history of my life that lies as much as Nenshi does. And he'll say, this is what they're doing. And he knows it's not true. And I think there needs to be some accountability. I don't know what's going to happen, but there needs to be accountability that if you open your mouth in public and it's not true, there should be some
and this
accountability
is
for that.
something that even
So
the
maybe we can
guys,
talk to Danielle and say, hey, why don't you create a new law?
new policy like the next AGM in
Yeah.
26 about that
So,
specific issue. Yeah,
yeah, I know we're going to be bringing forward right to work legislation again and also other things. So,
that's good. That's good. So let's go on your website quite a second because I want to take a look at the website very quickly. Let's go try to share this tab here and it should come back in a second. There we go. So this is the website here. Okay. So
yeah.
the webs, yeah. So this is a website. So basically, this is a website. You have previous campaigns that you guys have done here. Just a second. I'm just gonna move the screen a little bit. Okay, there we go. So basically, you have previous campaigns, and this is like what you've done essentially. So what exactly we're looking here? You see the NDP is very
Yeah. So
organized
the
laws.
main point that's the past. But the main point of what we're doing when you first go to the website now is the survey on the top. We want people to tell us what their concerns are with the province. Just share your issues, share your top issues. We ask people to put their name, their phone number, and let us know their issues and concern. We'll keep this information according to constituency, and we will send the information to the UCP MLAs in those areas and say, look, these are the concerns in your area. This is what we're trying to do. We're listening. We want to hear people's perspectives, and we want to be a safe place for workers too. If you notice our slogan as an organization, it's United Workers and Small Business for the UCP.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because not all workers feel represented by their unions, and small businesses being completely ignored and always
Totally.
has been. And so we've said, well, let's get a voice for the marginalized, which are workers who are not don't want to be in a union, and small businesses, and find out their concerns, and then let them know what we're going to be up to. So one of the things we're doing is A, education, and B is going to launch a couple of anti-NDP recall legislations uh, based on how they talk in the legislature, etc. We need to fight back. We need to give them a taste of their medicine, show them how stupid this is, and also let them know that they're going to have to focus on their own areas now, not just focus on the UCP. So we're going to put them on the defense rather than the offense. No one's done this before. This is the first time in the province where a group is organized, to get the other parties on the defense. So we're giving them a taste of their own medicine. And that's why, we encourage people to go to StopTheNDP.info, join as a member. It's only $10, or you can donate. And we don't get money from the government. We don't get money from anyone but people like you, Max. That's who we get it from. Regular, everyday Albertans,
My own
regular, everyday
pocket.
small business owners, out of pocket. Yeah. So, I mean, the people who are giving us money, they're not forced to. And, it's a little harder these days. I mean, I just yesterday went to the grocery store, and what I used to be able to get, for $200, I can get one bag full of groceries now. Every level of government has taxed its citizens to death. And every level of government, the reason why things are going up is because of the unions. And people don't understand that. They're holding us hostage. Like, what are we going to do if everyone works for the government? Who's going to pay for them, their jobs? They don't seem to get this. Well, hire more people, hire more people. Who's going to pay for it?
Mm-hmm.
The small business and the United Workers that aren't being represented now. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
unbelievable. And,
Um, do you know
it's
what's the ratio? Do you know? I don't know if you know the answer for that question, but I'll ask you anyways. What's the ratio of of the private sector versus the public sector employees? What's the percentage?
well, the majority is still I don't know the exact percentage, but the majority is still private sector. However, under Rachel Notley, she hired 40,000 more bureaucrats. And Danielle's hired more too. So I mean, it's getting there, but we're going to get to a point where there's going to be a tipping point, right? And we're almost there, but we don't want to get there. That's the point. We don't want to have the majority of people working for the government. Well, because then where's the money coming from? They're just printing it and they're just putting us in debt. That's all they can do. We need an organization that will work with small business, work with the United Workers, and work with government, and say to the government, look, here are solutions. We did the problem with the opposition, and I wish, and it's like this. It's not just Nenshi. It's like this all over the country and the provinces as well. Why don't the opposition parties, instead of just opposing, if the government comes out with a good policy, support them. Say, hey, we just want to let you know this is a good policy. We think you did a good job on this one. That's the right thing. Not
Because
every time then she opens his mouth. It's bad, 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 bad. I mean, that's crap. They're elected to oppose bad stuff, not just oppose all the time. And it doesn't matter what Danielle does. Danielle could give people a 25% pay hike, and the unions would say, we want it 30. They're never satisfied. They do not understand what it means to balance a budget. Well, look at Trudeau. He thought budgets would balance themselves.
what an idiot.
Yeah. And the problem is Carney's worse because he's smarter. So he does it more devious. Like, I'm sorry, Danielle, love you, but the
MOU.
memory of the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, was crap from the beginning. I didn't want to bug her at the convention and say, Danielle, I was almost going to joke that if I got up and said, look, if this passes and a pipeline gets built, I'll retire from ever being in politics again. And half the room, most of the room would have laughed at that and said, oh, well, let's get it through then. But it's not, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Danielle's going to find out pretty soon that separation is the only solution.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I've been trying to push the stuff that we've been pushing in the West since the Reform Party first came out. I push for a triple E Senate, elected, equal, effective. I push for proper representation, for population. Like, for example, the East Coast has 1.8 million people and they have like 37 seats. We have 5 million people and have like 39 seats. It's like we don't even have equal, representation by population at the lower house, and then the upper house. We've wanted a triple E Senate forever, elected, equal, and effective. Like, look at the U.S. South Dakota has the same number of senators as California, Texas, or New York, and the reason being is because the upper house can't gang up on on the rest of the country. So if North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and those guys want to vote against California, they can. They're equals. We don't have that. We have supply management, which favors Quebec. Thank God Harper was elected because he got rid of the Canadian Wheat Board. There's so many reasons why this country doesn't work, and everyone thinks it's just about oil and gas. It's not.
And the unions, like when I was, I can share a story. Can I? Oh, I'll share.
Yeah,
share
of course.
Story. Okay, I'll share that story. So in 2011, there was a student strike in Quebec. So basically, at that time, I was in college during my engineering class, and they have this. They have a student strike because the provincial government wanted to raise the tuition fees. right? So it will go
Yeah.
from, which are the lowest in Canada at that time, still to this point. They went from 1,500 like 2,000 a year to 3,000 a year in the next 2 years. So it's not like it was going like right away. It will take some time to do it. The
Incremental
student
gains.
and the student unions were absolutely insane. They were on strike at that time. I just took a gap year, saying, "Look, you guys gonna go to strike. I'm gonna go to work and stack some money and yada yada yada." And the leaders of those protests, they all work in government now or make Hands Co. when it's all said and done. So it's all devious. Like, and the unions there were like two public sector unions that were involved in this. So obviously, I mean, what kind of bothers me with this whole union stuff is I'm not against unions. I mean, my dad works in trade, so his unions are helping him out to some extent. That's fine. But the unions at the public sector, like the public sector unions, is something that is using our money against us, right? That's the
Yeah.
impression that we get from here. And there's no way to right now. There's no way to bypass those things, like because people don't necessarily agree with Shane McGowan or whatever. You know, they're like bound to the contract. It's like a requirement for it's an employment requirement. You have to be in a union, otherwise you can't work for us. Basically,
I think you should, yeah, that too. So, right to work legislation would solve and force unionism as a condition of employment. But also, we need legislation in the same legislation to stay that union dues can't be used for political purposes. If we did that, they would automatically realize they are not the majority. But when you have a lot of money, Max, if you and I have the same product, but I'm out there advertising it all the time because I have money, you're going to lose. So that's the only reason why their message gets out there is because they force their members to give them money, don't give them a choice on where the money goes, and use it against us. And that is not only unethical, it's it's cowardice. It's disgusting, and we need to fight back. And we haven't been fighting back in Canada. But I'll tell you, if you want Alberta to turn into BC, or if you want Alberta to turn into Ontario, we're on the right path if we don't fight back against these unions. And the unions fund the NDP, and the unions are the NDP. That's their political party of choice. And then all the other unions is just groups like Stop the NDP. They're PACs. They're third party advertisers. But the difference between, Gil McGowan's group and my group is I ask you for money. I don't force it out of your pocket. And I think we need to create an equal playing field where in the marketplace of ideas that we are creating a level playing field. And that means no forced union dues for political purposes. That has to end, and it has to end now.
and if there are any folks who are watching from the UCP, because we have some folks from UCP watching every time, even if I talk with from APP stuff, which is mental content, I know that some people from UCP are watching this. For the next year's AGM, we need to bring forward a policy like a bring to work legislation, and to make sure that the union fees, either privately or publicly, are optional, that you can
Exactly.
opt out. That's what we need to
Yeah.
do, not compulsory as it is right now.
Yeah, and I mean, people can individually negotiate their own contracts if they'd like. If I went into a company, I would rather work out a deal on their own and sign the contract. That's what we used to do. You sign individual contracts with your corporation, that's employing you. You don't need to have a union do it for you, and that's not how it's not how it works in most companies. So, I understand some of the trade ones like steel and stuff like that, where you want to have look unions in the beginning. were needed, especially in the Industrial Revolution. I mean, the working
Absolutely.
conditions were deplorable, and I would have been, I would have been pro union as heck too. I would have been like Hoffa and be a Teamster and try to have some safe working conditions as well. But we're now at the point where they've done their usefulness in that regard, and now they're just turning it into political
Activism.
dynasties. Yeah, that's all it is. And when Gil McGowan, man, he's just rude too. Like he just tells everyone to f off. Just yeah, he doesn't appreciate what people do in any way, shape, or form. And it's actually sad to see him and realize he's the head of QP. You know what I mean? Or AUEPE. It's stunning. But these people need to be controlled, and he needs to have a muzzle on him. He really does.
Yeah. One of the things I found fascinating with this whole perspective is that when was this group started? Stop the NDP. When are you
We,
actually talking? Like
well,
when did you start the organization?
we started the organization, and then in the campaign against Notley to get her out. But we put it to bed because we thought, okay, well, we mission accomplished. So it was a TPA in waiting. So we would file and our quarterly reports and say zero activities, zero monies coming in and whatnot. But then when the NDP started organizing, a group of us sat down and said, you know what, we need to take this group out of the mothballs. And we formally relaunched, if you will, relaunched at the UCP convention. And you saw us there.
To
We had a display table. We were working the rooms and handing out information. So yeah, that's the relaunch of the. Our slogan used to be "No carbon tax," Alberta first, and that seemed to be a little outdated now. So we changed the slogan and changed the logo. If you look at the logo on our website, it has two hands shaking and it's a hard hat, with the picture of Alberta. And that's what it kind of, goes across to represent. So if you look there, you got your green hand representing the Wild Rose side, the blue hand representing the old, PC side, and the mountains and evergreens. And, that's what it's about now. It's about we need to work together, not fight each other. You know, if Gil McGowan wanted to actually sit down and talk to Danielle and actually work something out and say, here's our ideas, what do you think? She would listen. She'd sit down and have a conversation. I'm sure she'd sit down with him anyways, even if she's
mm-hmm.
being yelled at. But he's not offering solutions. None of the common front are offering solutions. And I mean, they're blaming Danielle for the classroom sizes. The classroom sizes were out of control under Notley too. It's that we're growing at a pace we can't keep track of. And the only way to control that pace is to control our own immigration and get all the rights that Quebec has. We need to control our immigration. We need to control, you know, our language. We need to control everything. We just want, if we get the same rights as that Quebec has, and if they want us to continue equalization, well, maybe Quebec should add hydro into it as well. I don't know how they
Mm-hmm.
got that excluded from the equalization formula when that's actually unbelievable. So, yeah, but unions again in Quebec, you and I both know they're out of control there. They're out of control in BC. They're out of control in Ontario. And they're about to be out of control here unless we fight back. All of us, you came to Alberta for the same reason I did, because we wanted a better place. We wanted what Alberta was. We wanted, what Ralph Krine's dream was, and then it just went the other way. And it started with Stelmach. And in fact, a good story with Stelmach, if most people don't realize this, but I won my nomination at Calgary Egmont under Stelmach. And back then, you used to be part of caucus automatically if you won your nomination, because in
Mm-hmm.
Calgary, basically you won your seat. But
Mm-hmm.
then I got kicked out by Stelmach. And then, nominees are no longer automatically part of caucus. So I helped, go create the Wild Rose Alliance Party. And that was our response. And then Kenny convinced me I don't know why I listen to Kenny, but He's been a real disappointment. But he convinced me to, help him, unite the two parties, and I did, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I think Danielle's is the best premier since Lougheed and Klein. I'd say if you had to pick the three best premiers ever in our history, it would be Lougheed, Klein, and Smith. And but we're at a crossroads in Alberta where we're becoming the big boy, and if we don't put our big boy pants on and fight back against these unions, we are going to lose the Alberta advantage forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we
And you
have to
guys,
stop the NDP.
and you guys go well. Basically, the the chills. So basically, the weak point is the unions at this point.
It is. It is for us because we've just sort of ignored them, and we've sort of, Danielle's great. I mean, even at the convention you saw, we all walked out of that room united. But you saw even when she got some tough times at the convention, she kept her composure, and she always does. And she's always talked to people. She's always reached out to people.
Mm-hmm.
She's tried to make things work. But the unions don't have that same mentality. They're not sitting down with Danielle to work things out. They're sitting down with Danielle to take and fund their union even more. It's about the union bosses, not the union workers. And you know what? We need to turn it around. It's about the workers, not the union bosses.
No, absolutely. So you guys, though, I mean, you've been in at ACT in Calgary about probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. You officially launched at the UCP AGM, to be exact. Are you guys planning to do like a little tour, like in other cities or something to that effect? Because here in
Well,
Edmonton, it's gonna be.
we're gonna do some. I mean, we've seen memberships come in, so I encourage people if they want to get involved with us, they give us a call. Our phone number is 403-720-2143, or just go to the website, send an email, and we'll get it. If they want us involved in their area, but we're going to want help. So let's say, um, and there are people who have contacted us already from Cochrane and Medicine Hat and other areas, and they're organizing the meeting. They say show up and help us get trained, because that's another aspect of what we're doing too. I find that the conservative movement doesn't train their door knockers, their phone callers, their lit droppers effectively.
The UCP.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. I mean, all our people are trained very effectively by the Progressive Group for Independent Business, which is the best ground game there is in the province. And we're all trained from the Leadership Institute out of Arlington, Virginia, the Republican Boot Camp. And I think the training that the UCP puts on is minimal at best. It doesn't really go into, okay, here's how you get people on side. Here's what you do with this. Here's what you do with that. Um, they don't do micro targeting. So, for example, when I ran Councillor Peter DeMont's campaign years ago, his first campaign, we in Willow Park, it's a community in Calgary, they were having coyote issues. So we would micro target that community with, okay, here's what Peter's going to do about the coyote problem. You got to listen to the grassroots, because the position in Blackie is going to be fundamentally different than the position in Westlock and
Mm-hmm.
the position in Edmonton and Calgary. So the survey is the big part of us touching. It's basically a big listen, if you will, for lack of a better word. We want people to go on the survey, tell us their concerns. We want to know. We're grassroots oriented, and
Mm-hmm.
we have more people from Calgary saying, "Hey, I want to get involved. Want to get involved." So we're Calgary focused for that regard. But I have been contacted by a couple of people in Edmonton who want to look at doing the same thing here. We'd like to shadow the constituencies. So if there's Edmonton, whatever, we're going to have a Stop the NDP there. So Stop the NDP,
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton, Glenora, Stop the NDP, Calgary, Glenbow, or whatever. We're going to create multiple packs and teach these people how to do that. But what we don't want to do, for example, for the recall campaigns, is we're waiting till after Christmas. And the reason we're waiting till after Christmas to launch our recalls is because no one wants to door knock right now. It's Christmas time.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to
That's-
waste your resources and you're not going to get your objectives done. We want to wait until, you know, around February when people are back and they're back at work, they're thinking things. And then we launch it like mid-February, and then we have February, March, April, May pretty much to get it done and then get it submitted. Well, spring, more people are going to come out to help us, right?
Mhm.
So we want to do it to win, not do it to just data mine. And the NDP isn't doing it for any other reason other than to data mine. And I
Oh.
find that completely unethical.
Oh yeah, talk about data mining. This is so strange. During the last not the AGM on 25, on 24 in Red Deer, I was on my way to Red Deer from Edmonton, and I got a phone call from Tommy Fabio as a call, also known as Lukasic.
Oh gosh, really?
He
You
got me
got to
over.
call on the way to? Oh,
I'm like, how are you supposed to call me? I never talked to you. I got its 587 phone number, which I never respond. I only respond to 780s and 403s, but
where do you get your data?
I don't know how he got my phone number, but I didn't respond because I was driving. It was very bad. Like winter traffic was bad. I was driving. No, I wasn't going on Highway 2. I wasn't going faster than probably 40 miles an hour. I'm still using miles here. Sorry for the metric people. And when I stopped at the gas stop, I was like, oh, that's Fabio here. How did you get my phone number? I don't know clue how you found my phone number. But basically what you talk about data mining, and this is a contract with the, I might weigh this up a little bit, but the APP people, which have very strict data sharing policies. On the left, it's West End. It's the Wild West. It's just share the number, and whatever is necessary to take down conservatives, everything gets on the table, including doing unethical things like sharing people's phone numbers to unknown places that we never heard of.
Yeah, it's happening all the time. You know, if people ask us where we get their number, we're like, well, you filled out our survey or you emailed us or something. We will tell them where we got their information. And you know, I think if you can't trace back the source of where your data came from, you're hiding something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's actually what happens. So you plan to do training in all the ridings. You plan to do workshops, like say in Edmonton, in Calgary, Cochrane. I think you're doing mostly in Calgary because that's where you're based. But you're gonna do probably in Red Deer, Edmonton, because a lot of those recalls happening in the Calgary area.
And I've been trying to tell the ones who are trying to do recalls against the NDP, don't be reactionary. Because, for example, what happened with the Recall Gondak campaign, good guy who started it, Landon Johnson, but he didn't reach out to other groups to get that data. And so we all kind of had to help out near the end, and then the forms weren't filled out right. So what we're saying to people is, look, we know how to fill out the recall forms. We know how to submit it. Don't just willy-nilly do this and then not get it done properly. So you know, we'll provide commissioners of oaths in areas and lawyers and others to ensure that things are being done properly. But training needs to happen. We need to educate our people on the conservative side on how to door knock, how to let drop. Is well, let drop's great. Well, no, there's certain ways of doing things, and quite frankly, I feel we don't do well in training our people. Whereas the left, not only do they do well at training their people, they are united. Conservatives will just go against each other all the time. The left, what they'll do is they'll support one horse and they'll back it.
Conservatives, they just eat each other. And that's the thing about conservatives that I've noticed is that we have strong opinions, obviously. But unfortunately, we are not necessarily the guys who are necessarily there to not I would say support each other, but it's almost like herding cats. Apparently, there's a way of herding cats I've seen once in my entire life. It's a
I say that
possibility.
exact phrase all the time. All the time.
Herding cats.
It's true. I
Yeah.
mean, even our nominations, I mean, look at the leadership race where, you know, friends of mine like Rebecca Schultz and others, they were attacking Danielle for her Sovereignty Act stuff. Like so viciously that it handed Notley talking points during the last election. We got to watch what we say to each other. And when one person wins over the other, we have to unite behind that person.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not
absolutely.
happy with everything Danielle does either, but do I think supporting another party? No, I said to Cam as well. I said, I don't, the timing's not right, first off, for another party. And I said, secondly, when you created the Alberta Republicans, if you didn't want to be a 51st state, you shouldn't have chose the word Republican. You shouldn't have chose the word red, and you shouldn't have put a star in your logo, right?
And this is
So
something that I don't know if you guys do that in your training or not, but we should also, work on the possibility of telling people that on the left they are lined up, and I think that on the left side of things, the for them it's more important to stay united than uh, doing dirty than
I know
discussing
we,
their
we can we
problems
can learn
outside.
from that. For example, we had a community's first candidate, Shane Bisick or whatever his name is. He claimed to be a conservative running for communities first. Well, if he was a conservative, why would he run against a better Calgary Party guy in the same area and split the vote? Mike only won by 59 votes in Calgary. The campaign I ran, the guy won by 59 votes. The party that came second was the NDP party, the Calgary Party. So this is the thing. Oh, there's no vote splitting. They're delusional. If there wasn't the communities first, like Dan McLean and others running against ABC people, you combine those votes, we'd right now have a majority city council that would be conservative. We don't because of conservatives not getting along, not growing up, not learning how to keep their word, and not learning to play in the sandbox. And that's the sad part.
Yeah, and this is something that one of the things I've noticed in the public in this particular election in 2020, 2025 municipal wise, is that I got a list of candidates. I don't know what they are. I've heard Pace, I've heard this party, yada yada yada. But I'm at the ballot box. I'm like, who the guy is? Who's this guy? Never met the guy. And one of the things I was kind of talking about this with some people is that those parties, like municipal parties, like ABC, Pace, you name it, they need to be more open
Yeah,
in their
I'm just gonna
campaigns.
grab a. I'm just gonna grab a sign right here from the desk to show you what I mean. Right on topic there. So what we did in Calgary is we made sure the word conservative was there. So it says your conservative choice. We own the word. Municipally, it seems conservatives, Max, are afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid to say the word conservative. But what we prove with Mike, if we give people a choice and we say, this is the conservatives, people will vote conservative.
Yeah,
They wanted the whole reason this whole party structure was to identify who's on the left and who's on the right.
exactly,
So, and that's what
exactly.
we did in Calgary with Mike Jameson. That's why he won. He won because he owned the word, conservative,
Conservative.
right? Look how
Yeah,
bold it is.
yeah, conservative in bold, underlined. You can't miss it.
No, and that's why he won. Because in the area in Calgary he lived, you had Tom Kimmick, who's the member of parliament. He's the speaker of the deputy speaker of the House federally. And then you have Matt Jones and Rick McIver. So people in that area, if they're identified as conservative, they'll win. Now, most of Calgary is conservative, except for the downtown core, a little strip there in Ward 8 and Ward 9 and Ward 7. But other than that, the left should have only won 3 seats on council, but they won a heck of a lot more than 3 seats because you know
because of
what?
vote
Conservatives were
splitting.
not united.
Vote
And
splitting.
we're going to keep doing this until we work together. We got to check your ego at the door, do what's best for Calgary
Yeah.
or
And
Edmonton or Red Deer or wherever.
yeah, exactly. So make sure. So essentially, stay united. Remove the differences between each other. Stop the infighting within people. Nothing prevents people like
Yeah.
the left
Yeah.
is actually
So,
very good. The left is absolutely very good when they have problems within candidates or whatever. They don't share to the public. Oh, I've done this. This. No, I don't like what this guy
yeah.
is saying. They keep their shit
So,
inside.
so the reason the only real party in Calgary is actually a better Calgary party because the others are delisting. They were basically slates. They weren't actual parties. So a better Calgary party, so you understand, has ward associations, just like the UCP has constituency associations, and the federal party has constituency associations. So now the reason we did it this way is Mike Jameson had to go through a nomination. That way we weren't splitting the vote. So it would have been great if Communities First would have just got together and we fought it out in a runoff before we presented one of the candidates. That's just common sense, and that's why the slogan for the Better Calgary Party is "Common Sense Conservatives."
Period. Straight to the point.
Exactly.
Why do you think that? Well, we'll talk about infighting against conservatives. Should I say? I don't say infighting, just say diversions of opinions because it's almost like herding cats. I always say that herding cats. um, because essentially, because of the vote splitting that we had in the last municipal election, now we're gonna have another provincial municipal election, but we have the same people. Like the main problems I've seen at the municipal level is the same people, basically the same volunteers, but they always have, oh, gonna vote this guy, oh, I don't trust this guy, I don't trust this guy. The problems that I've seen is the lack of exposure and the lack of, should I say, the lack of engagement from the local parties. I've seen, for example, at the local parties, like here, no, in Calgary, there was a media over there. I don't know what the name of they operate under, but they gather all the candidates from all the ward, like for I think it was Ward 7 or 8. They all gather there and then interview all of them and they live stream all of this. Like with Freedom Canada, I could easily have done this. Like I bring my sound system that's in the back, kind of sort of. I
Yeah,
could
that
bring
was
myself
the sprawl.
exactly.
That's who it was, and they organized a debate in Ward 12 as well. They were very good. I mean, I think it's Jeremy Klausis or whatever is his name. They were very, although they're a leftist paper, they were very good in the debates. They actually just hosted them. They didn't attack anyone. I think they did a very good job actually. And yeah, same thing. You could have done the same thing. Put people in a room, live stream it, get it out there, and that's what we've been lacking with the
Yeah.
conservative side as
Yeah,
well. We don't have
absolutely.
like the one thing too that we want to teach people how to do is the left does it really well. The left has paid agitators on social media. We
And
need to
they get
start doing
paid.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
that's
they
what the
get
thing is
paid
too.
like $25 an hour.
Yeah. So what we're doing with StopTheNDP.info is people who are lit dropping for us or door knocking for us or getting signatures for us, we're going to pay them. We're going to actually get it done right. Because, if people are a motivated because they want to make a difference, but they're also getting paid for their time, that's respect.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to do too. But it has to start with training. We won't take on a recall initiative unless it's done properly. We don't want to do it for the sake of doing it. It's not about getting headlines or or I don't care. Like I'm at the UCP convention. Some of the media comes up and talks to me, and I'm just like, whatever. I just ignore them. I don't want to talk to them because you talk to the people, and I'm fine if you're at the door and you explain to everyone the recall, and we send a piece of literature out to all these areas that are getting a recall and say, do you realize by signing this petition, you're not getting a recall? They're not automatically recalled. There's going to be a recall vote, which is step two. And if the public says no to that, you've wasted all your time, resources, and energy. And then we have to educate the people like, guys, this is a long, lengthy process. It's going to cost millions of taxpayer dollars. And think twice about it on signing it against the NDP. And the ones that are the NDP, we're only targeting areas that, like, for example, let's look at Calgary. I'll randomly pick one. Calgary Acadia. Tyler
Mm-hmm.
Chandra lost by like 26 votes. And the person who's the NDP candidate there has said some really bad things that are worthy of recall. And
Such
we'll list
as.
that, of course. Well, we'll get to that. We don't want to. I promise you, Max. I'll make sure you get the first right of refusal on all the stuff we put out. But we're just summarizing everything together right now. We don't want to. We don't want to. Shoot our load all at the same time. You know what I mean? And we need to get things structured and
Strategize.
organized. I'm the type of person that when we launch a campaign, we want to know we've already won. You want to get it's like building a house. Right now, Stop the NDP has been laying the foundations. And then we're gathering people. The survey is important. So people need to go to StopTheNDP.info, look at the survey, give their information. Then we also know you can put in the comments too, I'd like to get involved. Well, we'll get you involved. We'll get you, you know, as a scrutineer authorized or as a signature gatherer. We'll get you the credentials that are needed. But it has to be done right. It's not just, well, my name's Fred and I'm mad at this person, so I'm submitting a thing and there, people are just going to come to me at the local Tim Hortons. That's crap. Go to every door. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to train people to do. And that's what we're not doing.
Are you guys working with other organizations as well? Like,
Oh, yes. I mean, we've sat down and talked to Parents for Choice in Education. We've sat down and talked to the Parents Union. We've talked to the Progressive Group for Independent Business, Calgary's largest business group. We've talked to people who've been involved with Alberta Proud. We've talked to, you know, heck, I've mentioned this stuff to Chris Scott from Whistle Stop the other
a
day, and
lot of people
he's
I
helping
know.
me. Yeah, and he's helped me write. He sent me the right to work legislation stuff, which he's already been working on at heart. So when you talk about these things, and Chris is like, "Oh, I have that stuff already," and I said, "Well, send it to me," which he has. And Chris, if you're listening right now, I'm getting back to you. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, we are definitely working with people. I mean, I want to. I think the good people in the Alberta Prosperity Project. I mean, Max, you and I share the same values. We're talking to people in the Christian Coalition. We're talking to people in Michael Clark with his group, and we're talking to
Oh,
all the same people. Okay,
fantastic.
because we are the same people. But the thing is, we're organized in different things. We all specialize in different areas, which is good. But I guess you can say StopTheNDP.info is taking the lead on this fight. Alberta
On
Prosperity, they're doing a great job on the area that they're doing, and other groups are doing a good job in the areas that they've been specializing in, and they're back. They're backing us. We back them. I mean, if you're not supporting Alberta Prosperity Project, well, you haven't been paying attention, and you should be. And you should go to their website and do it too. Any one of your listeners should be. I know you and I both do, but I mean, the listeners need to look at all these groups who are doing something and support them all. And remember, $10 to us or $10 to APP or $10 to the UCP. Do that, folks. make your donations, spread them around, help these different groups, because a war is fought on multiple fronts.
Yeah. Like in my case, is just is information. It's videography and put in a sound system in place and going to a location and live streaming it and make clips out of it. So that's my contribution. Your contribution is more with
Well,
information
no,
and
your contribution's important because I don't have that. Put it this way, Max. I've always people like Craig. Why don't you do a podcast? You'd be watched by tons, and I probably would be. I mean, I had a radio show called the Freedom Radio Network on Shine FM, the Christian radio station in Calgary, and AM 1140 in High River, and it did really well. But you know what, Max? It takes a lot of work for you to line up people like myself and others you have on your show, and to get that information out there. It's mind numbing. I don't have time to do the same thing you're doing. You don't have time to do the same thing I'm doing, but together we make an unstoppable machine. You're
absolutely.
you're the air war. You're the air war. Without you, we don't win in the air. I'm the ground war. And we put boots in the ground at the doors. So together we make a very good team. But not working together, it's like we're barking in the wind in two different directions. But you can get people out there on social media at a much more effective rate than I ever could. And I can get, the boots on the ground. So by working together, you can drive people to the Stop the NDP website to get involved, and we'll help create their own constituencies up there and all over the place. But you're needed too. So, your contributions, I thank you very much for that, Max, because without people like you, we don't get the message out there.
No, absolutely, and that's very important. We're approaching the end of time. Do you have any closing remarks before we kicks out?
I would say get the survey done as much as possible now, folks, at StopTheNDP.info. The website is going to change in the new year with much more content, much more action items, and specific constituencies we're going to do recall campaigns in, but also policy and what to push for and how to get you involved. We also encourage you to join the UCP. Go to unitedconservatives.ca, become a member, get involved in policy, get involved in your local constituency association, and don't split the vote. Danielle may not be perfect, but dear Lord, the alternative is horrifying.
Absolutely, and we don't want to get. I know a lot of people who moved from Quebec, at least, that the reason why they moved here is because of Danielle Smith's work. And
And
if
people
she
from
was,
Ontario, they're coming here as well. I just hope and everyone leaves their, if they're liberals, they don't come here. That's what I hope.
okay, that's good. No, and look, I think that we're gonna have a good chat in the next weeks, next months to come, because if there are some people within Edmonton, like I'm based in Edmonton,
We'll
uh,
help. We'll help. If they
will
contact us at
help.
stopthendp.info, we'll come up there, Max. And you know what? It might be actually really good idea if people do contact us. We'll rent out a hall where we can live stream it and have you do that as well. So we're more than happy to if you want to join us on some areas surrounding the Edmonton area. Um, we've had some people from Sherwood Park contact us. We've had people from Spruce Grove contact us. So maybe we can do a tour of Edmonton area like we can do a
Oh
tour of
yeah,
Calgary area.
absolutely. Yeah, and I probably know the people who are involved without giving names because I know a lot of people in the freedom and the grassroots here in Edmonton. So I probably know who they are. On top of my head, say, oh, I think he might be there. She might be there. So, anyways, well, that being said, thank you, Nancy, for your time. Now I think I have a good understanding what you guys are doing. What's your plan for the next couple months? The strategy, the rationale behind it, and as you adequately mentioned, I think we need to get together. We need to uh, we need to um, we need to stop our differences between each other. Stop ripping each other apart because without doing
Yeah,
this, we're not gonna win this fight at
I
all.
know. I know. Us conservatives are passionate. I know we really believe in what we're doing, and that's why we get so excited. But we got to remember we're better and stronger together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And if you want to take a look at this, StopTheNDP.info, that's the website. Just going to put the banner just so we close this up here. So StopTheNDP.info. That's the website. I'm just going to share this. StopTheNDP.info. So that is the website. You can look that up in there. StopTheNDP.info. Okay. I'm going to look the website after Christmas for any new changes. So that will
I'll be sitting on a beach in Florida creating new changes. So that'll be fun.
Oh,
I leave next week, and I'm just going to have some fun, and I'll sit and look at the Gulf of Mexico while I'm fighting the NDP.
it wasn't supposed to be the Gulf of Mexico. It was supposed to be the Gulf of the United States of
Yeah,
America.
Gulf of America or something. Which whatever, I don't care. All I know is it's warm, and I like to sit on the beach.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, brother. Thank you very much for your time. That was very cool.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. I'll give you a call soon.
Awesome.